Hi everyone, I'm a sophomore in Dimeborough High School, and my name is Kelsey Wu. The title of my TED Talk is Uniting to Love All Bodies. Recent breakthroughs in studies of teenagers and kids from Generation Z have found startling statistics regarding the notion of weight anxiety. It is reported that 2 in 3 girls of 7,000 to 8,000 reported teenagers wish to be skinnier. That 50% of adolescent girls as well as 30% of adolescent boys use unhealthy weight control methods to lose weight, which include fasting, skipping meals, smoking, vomiting, and taking laxatives. And about 20 million women and 10 million men in the US today have suffered from a chronically significant eating disorder at some point in their lives. Our society today is plagued by a psychological fear that grips people as early as the age of 4 and latches on for the entire duration of their lives. We've been taught to be uncomfortable in our skin, to cringe at the sight of our reflection, to believe that the number one thing that deems someone beautiful and worthy is their weight. And any body shape or size that is larger or diverse than what our world has deemed acceptable is immediately put down and trumped over. It is because of this prejudice and cruel mindset that girls and boys of our time experience way more prominent feelings of insecurity and seclusion than any other generation. We all have experienced the massacre that this fear puts on us. It murders our happiness, kills our confidence, and leaves us naked of all conviction. I would know, because I experienced it. Towards the end of January 2020, I decided that my body was too big and therefore unacceptable. For years, I'd been putting my own self down, mentally tearing apart whatever little self-confidence I had in my body. With that new year, I was going to so-called change myself. I was going to do it. I was going to become that pretty, thin, enviable Asian girl that I had always wanted to be. And with that, I did what every other girl has done at some point in their lives. I went on a diet. An extremely restrictive, unhealthy, and absolutely absurd eating routine, which included an impossibly small fasting window and a dangerously low calorie intake. Suddenly, all the foods in my pantry were absolutely off limits, and I found myself with only a handful of foods that I could actually eat. In addition to the restricted eating, I had to make sure I burned a generous amount of calories in exercise every day. And if I skipped exercising, I would have to deduct calories from my meal plan. I would burn these calories through abominable sprints, horrendously long badminton practices, and pointless exercises, all in the name of burning calories. Cardio, I dare say, had become the most important thing in my life. If you can't already tell, I was obsessed with the numbers. A banana was no longer a banana to me. It was a 90 to 100 calorie food item. 16 ounces of chicken breast was not chicken breast. It was 47 calories. A cup of quinoa, 222 calories. I obsessively read food labels and added them to my little calorie counter app, always adding, then deducting, adding, deducting. It was horrible, tiring, and draining to monitor over myself like this. But I kept going because, of course, it was working. I lost the most amount of weight in the shortest amount of time in my life. You would think that I would be ecstatic. People were even noticing. They would come up to me and be like, "Oh my God, you lost weight!" Or, "Girl, you look skinnier." And while I was the thinnest I had been in a long time, I was nowhere close to being pretty in my eyes. Outwardly, I may have looked to be in a healthy state, but mentally, I was the sickest I had been in my entire life. I had developed obsessive-compulsive thinking of food, which meant I had an addictive and uncontrollable mindset where I constantly and could not voluntarily stop thinking about food. I found it hard to stay focused in class, to have any interest in friends or relationships, or to complete simple tasks such as studying for a test. I was always tired and weak. Sometimes it was physically draining to even look at a set of stairs, let alone actually climb them. The skinnier I grew, the less energy I had, and really, the only thing that I looked forward to was mealtime. But I'm one of the lucky ones. I wouldn't be here today if I wasn't. I wouldn't be standing here on this stage, beautiful, confident, emboldened, brave, empowered, if it weren't for my parents. My mom and dad, who sat me down and told me this was not how you were supposed to live life. If it weren't for my friends, who rushed to my aid the minute I opened up about my experience. But most importantly, if it wasn't for myself, me, who stuck up against those urges in my head to starve and hide, me, who told myself every time I looked into a mirror that I was beautiful and I was worthy, me, who decided that I was going to live my greatest, best, and most fulfilling life that I could ever live. And I will and forever be grateful that I was able to come out of such a dark and strenuous period of my life. But I don't think God meant for me to go through something as serious as an eating disorder and then just ignore it for the rest of my life. Because I won't. Not when millions of other girls and kids are out there going through the same thing that I went through, petrified and isolated, scared beyond imagination of reaching out for help, but at the same time needing it so badly. Now there are two actions in which I believe we as a dime bar community can exploit right now to combat this growing plague. Initiatives that are so simple and yet can affect the entire course of how adolescents and kids feel about themselves. First action is to empower yourself. So many of us lack self-confidence in our appearance and are terrified of others' internal judgments about the way we look. Be confident in yourself. Be proud of yourself and how you have matured into someone who is so beautiful or handsome. Don't think twice about showing your community just how amazing you are, and fill your feed with pictures of yourself as a reminder that you are not afraid. Once you put yourself out there, you become an example, a living proof to your society that beauty comes in so many different colors, shapes, cultures, and sizes. Once you put yourself out there, you become an example, a living proof to your society. And for anyone out there who is struggling with their self-confidence or their self-worth, your example can empower them to see just how spectacular they are. The second action is to destigmatize asking for help. I never told anybody what I was going through, except my parents, who found out months after I had been dieting. I never felt so isolated and alone in my entire life. I honestly felt as if I was the only person to have ever experienced what I was going through. I was terrified of reaching out for help because I thought no one could understand me, and even worse, they would judge me based upon my fears. I mean, who wants anyone to know that they're afraid of gaining weight? But the truth is, there are so many people out there and around us who are fighting these lonely battles by themselves, scared and terrified beyond imagination of reaching out for help, but at the same time, needing it so badly. We need to make it okay to talk about these mental fears on a regular basis. It should not be a topic that is neglected and branded as uncomfortable. Asking for help is not a sign of weakness. It's not a sign of judgment. It is a sign of healing. It's a sign of bravery. It is the indication of the end of suffering. If we can join together and put forward this message, I believe that we can end the spreading of this desolation that has taken so much from us all. Together, we can change our corner of the world, one person at a time. Thank you.